Welcome to the Wire to Wire podcast. As always, it's me, your host Yusuf. Now, without further ado, let's just get right to it. So, the news came out that in the middle of the night, the Los Angeles Clippers sent Chris Paul packing, and Chris Paul ran to Instagram to post that he got sent home. Now, a lot of people were up in arms and upset. How could the Clippers do this to one of their biggest players, if not the biggest player to ever play for their franchise in history? Chris Paul has had a long storied career in the NBA. He announced that he will be walking away from the NBA at the end of the season. So this was meant to serve as a farewell for him. And a lot of people were up in arms. How could a player, a veteran player at that, be treated like this, especially in his final season? Now, I can understand why people think like that or why they feel what they feel. But I'm going to be honest from my perspective, and I'm not saying this for shock value or to troll or to rage bait or anything like that. I don't actually have a problem with what the Clippers did. What? I know. Let me explain. Chris Paul is someone, if you look at him objectively, throughout his career, he's always rubbed his teammates and organizations the wrong way. He's always been someone that's known to have clashes with his teammates. Now, many people can say, okay, well, he brings a winner's mentality or he brings a winning mentality to organizations, and that's what rubs people the wrong way. If that is the case, then why hasn't he won anything? In his long career, he's only been to one finals with the Phoenix Suns. They were up 2-0 and lost to the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games. He's been on teams where he had the potential and possibility to get to the finals, but for some reason, he either chokes or his body just can't seem to hold up when it matters most. Now, some people can say, look, injuries are unfortunate, they happen, and I get that, but there has to be a point where there is some accountability. How is it in the biggest moments you can't get your body to hold up? But somehow in your long decorated career, you've had multiple seasons where you've played 82 games. So you can play 82 games throughout the regular season, but then you can't get your body to hold up in the playoffs. So to me, I've never really been impressed with a guy like Chris Paul. Like, I know he's a good player, right? Some might even say that he's a great player. But to me, I don't see it that way. I personally think that the guy's a little bit overrated. And I think a lot of what he's been able to do is because he has the ball in his hands most of the time. If you hold the ball as much as he does, as long as he does, over the length of his career that he's been playing, then yeah, you're going to get a lot of stats. You're going to put up a lot of numbers. But a lot of these will be empty calories because ultimately in the end, it doesn't lead to a lot of winning. And if you look at his career, there's no championship to show for it. And I find it funny because when they lost in that finals and he was on the Suns, he said, now that I've experienced the finals, I'm addicted. Okay, but he's never been back. So to me, I don't mind the Clippers doing what he's doing, because when I first heard the story and I saw him put that on his Instagram story about, oh, the Clippers sent me home, and then everyone's looking at Chris Paul like something bad was done to him, I immediately thought to myself and said, no, there's more to the story. And lo and behold, more information came out. He started calling out players. He started calling out the coach. He started calling out the front office, trying to hold everyone accountable. But look at your role in the team. Look at the hierarchy. You're averaging what? 2 points, 3 points a game. There's a string of games where you're not even playing at all. You're getting DNPs. So know your place. And not only that, look, there's a lot of things about the Clippers I don't agree with. There's a lot of things about Kawhi Leonard that I don't agree with. But understand, Kawhi Leonard has 2 championship rings. Ty Lue, the head coach, I don't think he's all that great of a head coach personally, but the guy has 1 championship ring. As a coach, he has more as a player. So there is levels to this. So you don't have a championship ring. So how are you now going to come in and start telling guys that did win what they need to be doing? No, what are you doing? Because you don't even play some of these games. You're getting DNPs. And you want to talk about championship basketball. You've never won a championship. So I could see how a guy like him will rub people the wrong way. You see, when you're young in your career and you have a lot of pull, there are things you can get away with. Michael Jordan was able to talk to his teammates the way that he spoke to them because he was holding them to a standard that he also held himself to, and he had the resume to back it up. Kobe Bryant was the same thing. He had the resume to back it up. So guys that have that pedigree can do that. Chris Paul doesn't have that pedigree. And people talk about him like he is this all-time great point guard. Now, I agree he's one of the best point guards to ever play, but I don't have him in my top 5 personally. There's a string of point guards that I believe are better than him, that played the game better than him. So I can understand that. Who the hell is this guy talking to? And I saw the reports that James Harden wasn't also very fond of him joining the Clippers. They played together in Houston. How did that turn out? Chris Paul has a tendency where he alienates his teammates. He's the kind of guy that's going to call out his teammates for not doing things that he himself doesn't do. The guy does not play defense. He hasn't played defense for a while. He is the kind of player that when he's getting outplayed, he will do certain little dirty things on the court to try and hurt the other player. And then he's going to try to look all incredulous like he has no idea what's going on. To me, he just seems like he was one of those stars who were fabricated and manufactured through narratives. And there's a lot of things that the Los Angeles Clippers have done wrong. And there's a lot of things that we can look at and point to and show that they have been very incompetent as an organization. However, what they did to Chris Paul, to me, is not a byproduct of that. I actually think they did what any reasonable organization would have done if there was a veteran player who was talking like that to the coaches, to the other players, and to the front office. The way the NBA works is like how any corporate environment works. Don't think that just because they're athletes that they don't fall under the same rules as the corporate world does. There is no employee that's going to be allowed to talk bad about their leadership, talk bad about their supervisors, go around and openly and flagrantly start criticizing their colleagues and think that that person is not going to be shown the door. They will. Now, if a person is a high performer, they probably will get a little bit more grace than someone who isn't. But ultimately, when there's someone who is bringing some level of confusion or chaos into a work environment, companies have mechanisms in place to get them out. The NBA is no different. Chris Paul was bringing a lot of drama and a lot of criticism in an already difficult season. So his value was not there. Again, this guy was averaging 2 points per game, 3 points at most. And he had how many DNPs so far since the start of the season? So he is in no position to be talking the way that he's talking and behaving the way that he's behaving. So the organization said, you know what? He's more of a headache than he's worth. We're getting more trouble than value out of him. Just send him home. And that's what they did. So of all the problematic things that you can criticize the Clippers for, what they did to Chris Paul, to me, is not one of them. But that's all I got for you guys today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and share with your people. You guys can also follow me and the podcast on social media. You guys can check out my books. All of the links will be in the description. Until next time.